I'm a 28-year-old professional, and my fiancée and I own one car between the two of us. We also own two upright electric assist e-bikes to deal with London's above-average urban sprawl, and an electric scooter for the fun of it. But we choose to ride our bikes 85% of the time, drive 5% of the time, and use public transit or other modes the rest of the time. I have real concerns about the families in London, Ontario. I'm assuming most people here drive, and for those in person, you probably even drove here today. It's the North American way, except that for many reasons, it excludes many people, as we've heard a lot about tonight. And from an environmental standpoint, it's entirely unsustainable to drive as much as we do. So imagine for a moment, just in 2 hours from now, your circumstances change because any number of things, from physical to mental to financial, and suddenly, like so many people, you can drive anywhere in London or anywhere. How would you get around the city? What convenient, reliable options are there for you? In the next 3 minutes, I just want to touch on how the freedom of mobility plays into the following, which are the cost of living crisis, brain drain from the city, and how it increases sales and foot traffic for businesses. So, part one. The lack of active transportation and public transit infrastructure disproportionately affects those of lower income when they are forced to own, operate, and maintain these vehicles because they have no other choice. Since personal vehicles became the primary mode of transportation in the 1960s, it's been the second most expensive cost of living. In 2017, CAA reported that the average cost of vehicle ownership was between $8,600 and $13,000 per year, and in 2023, it's obviously more expensive. Seeing as we are in the midst of a cost of living crisis, if we can allow people to drive less, that will only help families in London and everywhere save more money. Part two, brain drain. I'm the type of person who the city wants to keep. Young, soon to be married, and approaching my heavy spending years. We've all heard the story before. Children grow up in London but leave when they hit adulthood, or students come here to London for post-secondary education but then leave the city believing that literally anywhere else on the planet must be more exciting than boring old London. But studies have shown that providing better cycling infrastructure and making streets for people instead of cars improves the character of a city and increases the retention of young urban professionals who eventually put down roots and raise their families in those cities. This is especially true for those who are well-traveled and realize how awesome walkable cities can be, because many of those walkable cities often started making mobility changes over 50 years ago. So I'm excited that London is ramping up its active transportation infrastructure now. Part three, increased business activity. So active transportation helps build vibrant downtowns filled with prosperous business. Remember when over in part one I explained that owning a car costs around $10,000 a year? Yeah, people who drive less have more money to spend locally. There are countless reports out there, but let's get local. For example, over in Toronto, a recent study reported that higher levels of spending came from those who walked and biked compared to people arriving by car or transit, and merchants reported more customers per day after the construction of bike lanes. Do you really want potential customers just driving by your store at 60 kilometers an hour in a car? Vehicles are loud, dangerous for everyone, expensive for taxpayers, and expensive for businesses. Widening roads disrupts businesses, and once they're completed, makes for more through traffic, which does not actually correlate to more business. So in closing, I'm excited for London's future with the mobility master plan guiding its development, because freedom of mobility leads to more equitable and more livable neighborhoods and tighter-knit, economically robust communities, yet car centricity, on the other hand, just leads to unchecked urban sprawl that divides communities. So let's make history, and going forward, think of the hardworking people in London, Ontario first, not just cars. Thank you.